And welcome to session. I'm just letting us know just so the short at the line session. And this is more than couple and process, intellectual and creative activities in the world. My name is Advocate Gomez, and I'm the chair of this session. We are Belu Alberto, Dr. Raphael Williams, and Grant and Glasgow. As we go along, I'm sure they will tell us a bit more about their activity. But I'd like to start with each of you. Just a few minutes about what did the title put me to be involved in. More than possible parts. Doesn't mean that legal is that it's only sort of as so they all do, and that's true and should be true, and what can we change that? That's something challenge.
Okay, I think my name is German. Lagos has soul. And the soul of Lagos is cultural. Lagos, what we want to go to see toxic young boys, violent pictures. The Lagos is something violent. Okay, look at the setup of Lagos everywhere. It's like jungle, Zamarin, toilets, so to say. Individual is environmentally friendly, but in the same where you have sort of ideas and culture, but everywhere you go, the culture feeling happens, and that's what government has been. So they beyond the also that really
okay, for me, I want to refer back to the first time I think I was studying primary school then, 1976. Yeah, December 1986.
Okay, depends on the part.
Yes. Now, when the first time was in July, during my short term holiday, and the things I saw as a young boy then told me, hey, it has to be ladies.
Where we're coming from?
From the east, from then Igbo states, now at the state.
Okay.
And that was in July. Then by December, I had to sneak down to Lagos from my home without my parents knowing I was coming for holiday.
In primary school?
Yeah, in primary school, yes. But what I did was an auntie of mine who came in from Lagos back to Quebec was going back, and I convinced my grandma that my dad had sent a letter for that to visit Lagos. And I convinced the auntie that my dad was expecting me, so she took me along and brought me down to Lagos. And I wasn't very sure that I knew it. So
What they asked you to do the letter?
no, I just said it. Now in the village, yeah, those days I was not part of the letter that said. So I got the letter, I showed my grandma, but I read it to her. So she allowed me to come. So the things I saw, so the things I saw then, my second comment was in December, like I said, and that was towards January, section 1977, when they were in this first time, 1977. So I stayed behind.
And there was a holiday.
Yes.
All
Exactly. So I stayed behind the first time. So when I went to the National Stadium on Golden, I saw the crowd. And I saw, well, for me, then almost everybody I was saying, I took a lot of things, so much money that I have. Some of them going to process. Oh my God, this is it. This is Lagos. I have to be in Lagos.
Oh, that's okay.
That was it.
Okay, you know, at the ocean, that really is quite touching. Okay.
I think it's going to be on the panel too. See you.
And saying that,
Okay, so I mean, Lagos suffers from a danger of a single story.
okay,
When you hear people talking about Lagos is the hustles. They say traffic in Lagos to fall and then where it's on. People ask me that question about the so yes, my life, my daily works, it's fine.
okay.
I've been also that's what there is about that. That is the last call. So because of that, I know there's so much that goes on in this city. I'm still at this as we are in the so that's very yes. So we know there's so much to Lagos and this one sided story. So Lagos is more than a city for hustlers. Yeah, that happens. The hustling happens. You see people hustle every day. Why would anybody leave their homes at 5 a.m. or 4 a.m. just to go to the office and come back again and do the same thing all over again? That side is true. But there is more to Lagos than the hustling. There is the creative side, there is the entertainment side, there is a travel aspect of Lagos that people don't even recognize at all. I was surprised sometime a lady had visitors coming to Lagos, and they were requesting, where can we see, where can we visit? I was shocked when she told me that. There's no way. All that I know, I was surprised. I'm like, did you know this and that? She had no idea. She's Lagosian, she lives here. So people just have this one-sided view of the city, and it's something we need to begin to change so that Lagos can actually earn its rightful place in the community of cities.
I want to pick up on what you said. I think it's fundamental to determining whether Lagos is a city of just hustlers. You mentioned so, okay, and in a way, it almost speaks as though Lagos is a person. Lagos has a personality. Lagos, and I've been asked this question before, Lagos is sometimes like a bad boyfriend. Boyfriend, you know, is not good for you, but you can't leave, okay? And it keeps drawing you back, What, and I see that you all laughed. You agree?
No, I don't.
Okay, yes, so, yes, so let's talk about that.
Now, let me say why I said I don't. I remember after my youth service, I won a state award. I started in Ondo State, and I was given automatic employment in the governor's office.
Okay.
I worked there for just 3 weeks, and for me, it was go to Lagos.
Okay.
So if, like you said, if I was seeing Lagos as a bad boyfriend, of course, I wouldn't want to come to Lagos.
Yeah,
But then-
but the bad boyfriend always draws you back. That's the problem. That's the power. It's the power of
Okay, okay. Now I think I get your point.
Yes.
In that case, yes, it's possible.
Because
even when I even moved down to Lagos, it wasn't as if I found it very convenient. I got the job quite all right, which was much, with the condition that I won't be paid salary for the first 6 months, and yet I accepted the job. And I left where I was being paid.
why would you do that? Why?
That is it.
Bad boyfriend.
For me, I just wanted Lagos.
Yes.
I mean, when I use the word soul, maybe it came to me in a poetic sense. And the analogy you drew of a bad boyfriend, Lagos has character. But if you are dropped in the middle of Lagos, I don't know how many of us, when you're traveling and you look down from the plane, you know, it's like a confused spider, then weaving this way. And then when you get down into Lagos and you start moving, even living places where people live, you get into the commercial area, you get to some area and you're saying, How can this be part of Lagos? I know this because I run festivals
Yes.
between October and November. And people want to come here. Even my own wife, I will say, no, don't come Lagos. Then they come here and they don't want to go back. And they go and then my wife brought her students, 10 of them. I was afraid. Don't go there. Don't go there. And they told me that this is one of the most beautiful cities that they've been to. I had to go and raise. I'm the fourth generation of my family in Lagos. I mean, the fourth Anikulapo. And
Okay.
I'm thinking, but I was born here. I grew up here, and every time I'm always thinking that, okay, there are places that I shouldn't go. There are things that happen in Lagos. Even when I was coming here from Mushi to this place, I had my bag. I'm afraid, okay, somebody will snatch my bag. But I see people who come from outside and they're happy. So when you say a bad boyfriend will be the one who will spend the most money on you. Take you to all the back, but you know what you face when you get inside. So maybe it's easier for those who are seeing you and the bad boyfriend to think, oh, that guy is romantic, he's a great guy. But you who have to wake up. So that's what Lagos does to the way I see Lagos. So when I say so, I mean that it's in this same Lagos that virtually everybody who has become anyone in the cultural space. Writers, musicians, they came from this black pot. But Lagos has not changed as this dirty thinking. I'm sorry, dirty thinking.
I'm from Lagos, so
So
yeah,
it's
stepping on,
yeah, it's a space that really takes so much energy from you.
Yeah.
I can't sit in the car and open my tablet and be reading or
You
open
can't.
it. No, you are always afraid somebody will snatch my phone.
Knock on the window.
But this same Lagos, where all those big guys mention them in music, in everything where they come from. So that's why I said that this topic, I think, is addressing more Lagos as a creative space, not necessarily as a hustling. We all know about it. Everybody also to get heads.
Yeah. Yes, but I wanted to set that to know what do we all have that perception, and it's a perception that I think diminishes what Lagos can be. Okay, and I think that the work you do, everybody is working in silos, and not enough people. So it's almost like secrets. Your 10 students. Why only 10? Why aren't there 100,000 students coming?
Ticket money.
Because they're students.
Visa.
Yes, there are many. Yes, but even then, there are many hurdles to go to many places. The main hurdle, is the main hurdle not the fact, as somebody I met here actually yesterday at lunch. Oh, hi, hello, this is me. Oh, welcome. Is this your first time? I said, oh, it's her first time that her mother thought she'd be murdered. That's the first hurdle. Our reputation as a city is not what it should be. Our reputation as a city of welcome, of, shall I say, pockets of beauty, because I'm amidst the dirt, and when I say beauty, I don't just mean the physicality. I mean the beauty of the welcomes, the beauty of the market scene, the beauty of our food. So how can we do better to ensure that those intellectual and creative activities in Lagos, what can we do better to ensure that they are more projected?
Yes.
You mentioned here, Jama, that you run festivals from October to December. Name them.
Actually, my first festival is in March. That is the IREP. I represent in the
No, I just told you
the October to November.
no. So
October.
in March, IREP, okay. Then
IREP in October we do the Lagos Poetry Festival. Then I do the Lagos Book and Art Festival, which is 25 this year. We also have the Lagos Jazz Intentional Jazz Festival, which is April. We now do October.
That's 3.
That's
No, 4.
That's 4.
4.
Yeah. Can I give you a quick?
No, I know I'm with my question.
No, there's look, I consult for Lagos photo festival.
Okay, 5.
Okay.
Okay.
But there are other festivals happening around the center. So
How many of us here have heard of them? Yes.
But what I can actually, if you don't mind me.
Are you coming? Yes. Are you coming? Have you been? Do you tell your friends? I mean,
thank you.
yes.
But you don't,
Thank you.
you know,
Yes. Yes.
You know,
Yes. Yes. Okay.
so
but
Yes, yes.
you know the interesting thing now, in the past 3-4 years, the Lagos art season
Mhm.
is actually getting more
It's set.
recognized.
Yes, it's
Yeah,
set, isn't it?
people- so
October to December. Isn't
Yes,
it?
yeah. So I mean, for me, it even begins maybe about softly in August,
Okay.
but it picks up in October and into November. You know, it wraps up. We are now getting people, more people outside of the country are now more aware of a Lagos art season.
Okay.
We're expecting different groups of people in October,
Mm-hmm.
and all of them are saying that what are the art events in Lagos? They already know it exists, and they want to tie their travel plan
So they can catch
so that they
it.
can catch it. And I'm always very happy about that, because 5 years ago, probably we didn't have that kind of interest, but now the awareness is more.
I could give you a perspective of that, but I want Dr.
Yes, to chip in, please.
of the effort we made, Lagos at 50, Lagos Black Heritage Festival. I've worked on all those festivals, and I felt I was wasting my time. So I've stopped. I'm not doing anymore.
You see?
Past editions of Lagos Black Heritage Festival, Lagos at 50 was the biggest event in Lagos. I'm not doing it. I will
But
just
I
be doing my private stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, whatever you did was
No, I will get to
contributed
that
something.
because from policy angle.
Okay.
But I wanted the doctor.
The most we can do is what we've been doing. Probably we're not doing it well, or maybe we're not getting the right audience for it. Is to give it publicity. There's a whole lot of events happening practically every now and then in Lagos. Most people are aware of it. Even those who are aware, some people who are aware, who even want to attend, might have some other hindrances that will prevent them from going. It's not as if they're not aware of it. Then
And I'd like to disagree there, because I think when we say aware, I think sometimes our information here, we think it's widespread,
okay.
but it's not accessible. So if you know about it, you know about it. Okay, now just take LSA. Okay, there are a lot of people here, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you'd say for a festival, I mean, this is an academic conference. Okay, it's not even a fun festival. There's no music, no dancing, all the kind of things that we assume that we like. This is an academic conference. I've brought 2 people this year, and this is the 7th edition. They'd never heard of it. And I'm just using this as an example. So yes, people do a lot of work. We do a lot of things, but I think that because Lagos has such a large population anyway, okay? So Labaf, you get maybe what, 200, 300 people, 1,000 people, 500,000 people?
No.
It's not that. So about 250,000, yes?
Then we don't want large crowd.
No, but about 250,000, yes? But it could be bigger.
I don't want that.
Okay, but more people could know.
I don't want. I'd rather have this small group who came because they find value in what I'm doing. I have where I train as an actor.
Okay,
My training as an actor is to perform for 200. In fact, the maximum in my theater school was 100. You
okay,
can perform for 200, 300. I've performed I've had theater season in Germany, in Italy. I never played in a theater of 500.
okay,
So I find it funny when people want to do play, they put mic. You're struggling with mic. I will never do that.
okay.
So I don't mind to have this small crowd. They are invested. That's why they're here.
Yes,
People have been another panel.
yes,
So that's why I say I don't want Dubai.
okay.
You know what we call Dubai? Big crowd.
Okay, and you see, and that's a very interesting perspective, because if you have that perspective, okay, then nobody's going to know. And so what we are saying is that exactly what we say here, that the creative activities, the intellectual activities, the activities that can make Lagos appear much more than just, oh, just wake up in the morning, hustle your way, get some money, come back home and sleep, spend hours in traffic, just be on the hamster wheel. If people are not knowing enough about other things to do, because in your case, you want them to be small and therefore protected, then therefore the reputation of Lagos as that's all they do there, they don't really have anything up there, is going to continue.
You know why I said I could speak from policy angle? Once I was, I was chairman of Arteria Network. Arteria Network is a body of creatives on the continent in different countries. So we're asked to pitch for our cities. Everybody agreed, including people from Joburg, which I thought was the biggest. They said Lagos was where everything was happening. You know, I had to reconfigure my presentation to now say, okay, since all of you have agreed that Lagos is where it is happening, Lagos is the creative city. They wanted to come, but they had to do what we call state to state.
Okay.
They have to liaise with Lagos state government. They wrote letter endlessly, nobody will respond to them. You know, so if you have a city of 22, sometimes you say we're 25 million, and you do not have a cultural policy, a policy that guides things, and I'll make a political statement. A policy that guides operations in the city, you will never have the kind of impact that you want to have. Because it's like a banana republic. Everybody is doing, people say they don't put money. Do you know Lagos, a corporate organization in Nigeria, in Lagos, they're spending a lot of money on culture, but we know where the money goes to. They have the cultural ambassador. There was a classical example of one company saying they gave 80 million to a popular musician. But when the tax people went after, I said, no, I didn't even get 10 million. But in the tax paper, they wrote that they spent 80 million on that artist. So they're pumping a lot of money into relevances. If you have a cultural policy, just like the nation should have, and they say there's an endowment fund, so there's money there. You go the way you do in Britain, you go to the British Council. And
you apply for a grant, right?
And get money. Yes. They will assess your project. We've written all this, we've done all of this. If the state is not interested, there's money you can do. And I tell people, the way they've treated those monuments, you see those artworks. I was not taking notes this one. Look at the one they destroyed, the fish, that big fish in Aja. It's in a dustbin. The community around the Lezik, they broke it down. You know, this area boys were arguing there. They removed Fela from where it was. They took it to another place. The attitude of government. How many of the monuments attract anybody? I mean, when we travel, you go to monuments to take pictures. How many people have you seen? They build parks. They lock it up.
Yes.
If you have that kind of, I know you work with them. I know you're frustrated with them too. If you have that kind of mindset as a system, Lagos will never get out of system. We will continue to roll in the same mode. So there's nothing many of us can do. As of 2018, we had 18 international festivals running in Lagos. I was the one who did the study for Rambode government. I didn't even believe that we had up to 21. We had 21, but we said, okay, 18 of them, so they did a book. We said, okay, how many of these does the state support? That you're even aware of? They are not aware. Then when they change commissioner, of course, you know the current one now. I'll hold it there. Sorry, I'm sorry if I speak out.
I actually feel a lot of that responsibility, to make the public aware of what the Lagos creative arts scene or the creative scene is, also depends on the media. How strong enough is the media? In the days of German, when he used to be at the Guardian many, many years ago, the paper had several pages of the arts, very engaging. And I think some other newspapers too did. But go and see what the papers are doing now. Do you even have any radio stations talking about the arts actively? If you don't have the media, I mean, how do they in the West follow the arts? It's through the media. They pump so much in the papers, in the magazines, on the radio, on the TV. You are constantly being bombarded by all of this news. But in Lagos now, what you are bombarded with is politics and press releases. So you can't pick an average newspaper in Lagos and say you want to flip to the arts pages or to the travel section or whatever. You won't get anything. So as individuals are doing what they have to do to promote the arts, government does a little, but the media also has a major role to play in helping to solidify the stature of the creative sector of Lagos. If we don't have a strong media, I don't think so much will happen. Because that is dead already.
Beside what the government is doing and what the government is not doing and the media, again, I also want to look now on the individuals. Just like I was saying the last time, a lot of people have interest in where they want to visit and things they want to do. But most of the time, too, the economy does not really permit them to do that. And these are one reality we have to face. Presently in Lagos, there's a whole lot of challenges, so to say. Prices have gone up in almost everything. So anybody who probably wants to take off to say, okay, I want to go and visit the National Museum, first of all, calculate how much money he or she is going to spend. Have the kids eating at home? Do I have enough money to take them out to the National Museum to go and see the place and all that? And then they'll probably not ask themselves, what will be the benefits to them as parents and to the kids? I'm saying this from my own experience now. I run a museum and I see schools come and say, I want to come to excursion to my museum. And parents will now, at the PTA meeting, the parents will like, what are they going to do in the museum? They want to go and do history. What is history? Forget about Nigeria. Nigeria has finished. History has finished. So, and that has been the situation. So they would rather prefer that they take the kids to somewhere like ShopRite, which honestly, I won't understand what they're going to go and learn there. But they will prefer to go to ShopRite to go and look at things and come back. And these are part of the challenges that we are facing, not only as Lagosians, but as Nigerians in general.
I think that's actually a very interesting point, because let's see if they can. Okay, but it did not be so loud. I mean, yeah.
It's told them already.
No, yes, yeah. Okay, because it's a chicken and egg. Okay, are we as Lagosians going to say, you know what, we are not really interested in all of these things, so if you don't want to go and see it, we leave it? Or do we have a higher purpose that we try to let people know that the value of art in their life is actually cannot be quantified? And even with the most dedicated STEM person, okay, if you don't have art, you just churn out brutalist, brutish work. Let's take Apple. Apple's products, it's well known, are so beautiful because of the calligraphy course that Steve Jobs took. Not the complicated programming, the art. And when you don't expose children to art, and something that we don't do well here, and I'm glad you brought up that, is that we don't do audience exposure, okay? You can't actually expect, for instance, whether or not you want your festival to have 20,000 people, okay? But you're not going to get 20,000 people if the audience too has not been trained to think going to festival is a good thing. You can try all you like. You cannot. But don't to go and do there is only drugs they smoke. All the authors you bring, all the writers you bring, no. And I think that, and I do think that something that we don't do sufficiently well here is expose our children and young people to what art can do and how it can change their lives, okay? I mean, you do a book festival, okay? But for instance, our children's literature as a genre is not as developed as it could be. Now, you cannot expect people, adults to read who have not been exposed to interesting books as children, because that's when you learn, oh, reading is a good thing, is a thing I should do to occupy myself. In the same way, going to festivals, to museums, if you don't show, if we don't do that, and you see, and it's interesting because as well, at Christmas time, when a certain bank puts all the Christmas decorations, people flock there with their children. Okay, so I'm not persuaded that it's not that they don't see the benefits. It's because they may not know that there are places you can go, whereas the Christmas decorations are open, big, flashy, and it's packed full of people there at night with them, taking photos, everybody having a good time.
So, I mean, I'm just to follow up on what you're saying. I think the solution to that, from my own comparisons that I've made, is how we present the arts to the public.
Mhm.
The way and manner we present these things to the public matter. I've attended almost all the festivals that Lagos has offered, you know, and I can see that there are quite a number of, there are a few festivals
Mhm.
that you find that Lagosians attend in very large numbers.
Okay.
One of them is at X.
Yes.
People want to attend creative kind of festivals that are hippie. They want to feel like this is fun. This is, you know, it's a lifestyle thing for so many people. If we keep on presenting art in such a way that does not, because we have a large population of the young people, who are the people we should try to invite to encourage to visit those places. But if you don't present it, they have a different idea of how things should be done. I think at X fulfills that, because I go to at X all the time. I go to so many festivals. But when you see the character, when you see the demography of people that go to at X, you will wonder, why do they come to at X and maybe Lagos Photo Festival or maybe a different kind of festival, and they don't come to a different kind of festival? I think it's the way it's been presented, it's advertising, it's the sponsorship that those people get that makes it like a lifestyle. If
and
you
the
don't
environment is nice.
And the environment. So I think if we can get that right for all the other festivals, I think we'll put them in.
Let me respond to that. I think that's interesting because, you know, Artex is a show that where art is sold, okay, for exorbitant amounts of money, okay? But the ordinary person in the street pays, and it's not very expensive, really. It's 2,000 hours.
I mean, it used to be 1,000, now it's 2,000.
To go, and you can go in and you can feast your eyes on these beautiful pieces of art. You can take photographs, and when you go, people are there, families are there.
Yeah, it's a family thing.
With children, it's great. I mean, obviously, the commerce behind it, they obviously sell to the serious art buyers. But I think that a lot of the thing is, yes, the publicity, be an environment that is safe, attractive, and thought out in terms of you go to Artex, you leave it, there's a food court, there's ice cream stand, there are bathrooms, things that families need. Because it's very difficult. Lagos is a difficult city to entertain children. Yes, it is. Apart from the safety, in terms of things to do, because party is not an activity. Yes, we all love parties. Yes, love weddings. But that can't, and one of the challenges I think that we have is that we think if we've gone to a party, we've done a cultural thing. But no, my argument is that as Nigerians, we live our culture. We wear our clothes, we eat our food, so that going to a Nigerian wedding, we don't think we are going to a Nigerian wedding. We are going to a wedding. This is just how it's done. But things like sufficient museums, libraries, art galleries that children and young people can go to, because it's the same thing. You can't expect what you've not done at age 9, 10, 11, 12. If you're not doing it then, you're not going to start doing it at 25.
That's what I wanted to respond to. The question you raised earlier before we look at it goes back to the fundamentals of our polity. Okay, if you have a city like this and education is not in school, I'm sure all of us, there are many of the people here, you were products of literary and debating society, drama club, Boy Scout, Girls Guide, that's club. Who is doing all of those things? You were doing a carnival on campus yesterday. Do you see how scanty it was? This is a campus of thousands of people.
Yeah.
Is that not attractive enough?
Yes.
The colors and beautiful people.
And there weren't enough people.
So,
yes.
You see, if education, if these kids have not been trained, that's why the success, that's why I said we don't want a big crowd. The success that we have recorded is that most of the writers today who came as, you were one of their mentors who come as students and they grew up. So when we check our own success, it's in seeing that that person who was a little boy of how many, I remember the late filmmaker, Amaka Igwe. Every time we bring his daughter, our daughter, he say, oh, look, you gave us 50,000 naira that made us to continue this. We only wanted to do one, just to welcome Nigeria back to democracy. But she gave us 50,000, the biggest money we ever had. Since then, 25 years ago. Yeah, she was just, it was a better. So the better we said, let's go there, and then they give us the money. Since then, the state government, you write letter to them, they are not interested, they don't show any interest. If you set up a festival, I like open party. That's what I don't do inside the hall. That goes to your presentation. I would never do my festival in the hall because by my training, when you say a festival or a carnival, which I also do outside of this place, it's an open thing. The community must be part of it. If you are getting them and you're asking them to pay money for a place like this, I would say that it's still, you know, we're all, but we're hustlers. Well, hustlers, scholars, intellectuals, and artists, everybody, politicians, this way we're all hustlers. So you shut out the people. Which one I'm impressed. But we fought downstairs. I said, I mean, you were bringing people to your place, you didn't bring me. I think that if the state had its own policy, I'd like to talk about policy a lot because
Yes, I think so.
If the state had a policy that says we want to develop art in suburb,
Yes.
you see that the people, I mean, so you grow something for Ikorodu, for Bariga, for, I mean, God, the people who produce the art, some of those artists that you're talking about, let me shock you. We were doing IRE Film Festival. A young man who produced a film, because we trained them. So he went to the canal near his house, gathered the weeds and produced a film. And the film went international. We were surprised. This guy was in our training. You know, the day we were screening the film, this guy had no money to come and see the film because we're doing it in the same place that all of us go to, Ireland. Because he lives in Kobudu. You don't have money to come. Many of the artists tell us the same thing. So many of those artists that you see at ArtX, it's gallery.
Yes.
It's not the creative person. Art have been produced in Bariga. I'm sure if you were here from 20th, you saw those performances out there, outside there. It's been produced in Bariga, in Ajegunle, in Korea. Okay, Ajegunle give us Nigerian music, whether we acknowledge it or not. It's Ajegunle. What has the state done in Ajegunle? What are the corporate Nigeria doing? Because corporate Nigeria is looking at the body language of the state. Because the state is only in fact, Lagos is island. Once you cross that bridge, unless you are going to the airport. So why can't we take art back to the community, go to his library and start something there?
I absolutely agree, because I think, again, I still want to suggest that it comes back to the value we ascribe to art. And because I think as Nigerians, and I stand to be corrected by all of you, we don't tend to think of art as separate from our daily life. Okay, so we've grown up in a culture where, I don't know, traditionally, our objects in museums that are regarded as art were not actually out because they had purpose. Okay, either spiritual purpose or a functional purpose. So it's not art for art's sake. Okay, and so because of that, we don't. I think we take it for granted that you should know now, but we don't go out of our way to ensure our young people know, because we think they will just learn it by osmosis. But we haven't thought about the fact that life in Lagos has changed. So there's no grandma, there's no uncle. Everybody is out doing what they all do. Yes. And so there's a danger that if what I hear from what you're all saying, if there isn't a concerted effort, either in policy, by private sector, to actually say, what kind of cultural work do we want to do? What kind of cultural work do we want to share? What kind of spaces, of cultural spaces do we want to have? We may get to a space where there isn't any. Let's talk about that, and then I'll open up for the last half hour.
Okay, but there's something I want to chip in. Just like German said, policies have been part of our hindrance. And it's not just about policies now. It's the fact that, I'm sorry to say this, the fact that most people who are in governance are always fighting for their own interest. And why I'm saying this, people know what to do. They will not want to do it. Recently, Hilda Basi came up with his breaking record of cooking. She decided to finance it herself. Along the line, by the time Lagosians and the world saw what she was doing, adverts started coming in, people started backing her up. Now, let's assume she didn't have that fund to do it on her own. Of course, nobody would have supported her. I have a particular case. Some years back, I was trying to reach one of the Lagos State governor, former governor. I sent several letters to him and letters were not forthcoming. And I had to go and meet my godfather. He's of blessed memory now, Chief Alex Aki. And I said, sir, I need you to do me a favor. Can you please drive with me? I need to see the governor. I want the governor to see what I'm doing in Lagos State. And this man said, okay, I'll do it for you. So we sent a letter now with his own letter-headed paper to the government house, Lagos State government house. And we waited for a reply, acknowledgement, we didn't get any. And my godfather said, let's break protocol. So with him in his vehicle, we drove down to government house. As we were driving in, the governor was driving out with his convoy. He saw him, he recognized him, he gave him that respect. He stopped. He came down, acknowledged, and told him, can you come back in 2 days' time? I'm going to Abuja. That 2 day times, we went to Lagos State government house for like 4 times. And we didn't have access again to go in. Now, if they believe in what we're doing, but recently we did a book walk. There was a book walk, the network of book clubs, we did a book walk, and we walked to the governor's office. We were in front of the governor's office when he drove in. If I was in governance, I would have come down. Seeing that magnitude of crowd there, I would have come down to acknowledge them. Hello, how are you? Is enough. It will give the younger people the encouragement to do more. Some 4 years ago, I built the tallest Christmas book tree in Nigeria and probably in the world. We did all the promotion we needed to do. We invited people, except for those within the environment that attended.
Where was it?
In my library in Jimmy. Except for those who are within that environment, people didn't come. It was more we posted, people were like, oh, Mo, this is lovely. I would have loved to attend. Why didn't you give it publicity? Which other publicity am I going to give it if all the one I've given it was not enough?
No, but I think, again, we're coming back to the beginning. It clearly wasn't enough. And I don't know what the answer is.
I still believe it's still the policy. I still believe in
Because
the policy. Because if there's a policy to promote this kind of things, we won't have problem in inviting them to come. Then we be the one that will like all the governors and all of them, they have ACs and PAs. What are their jobs? Are they not supposed to watch out for things they can inform the governor? This is what is happening, this is what we can do, this is what we can be a part of.
Yes, but I have like a slightly different view.
Okay.
Because I think sometimes that you tend to think government should. I think sometimes is not always the case. And I think, I'm not saying you or you, I think that sometimes we just have to do it. The governments all over the world are slow to catch up. It's always the creatives in front, then the corporates behind, then the government.
Okay, sorry, let me add, maybe I didn't do it well. Now let's take the book fair, that is the book festival you always hold.
Mhm.
If I'm a governor, you don't need to invite me to come. I will spring a surprise. I'll come in when the program is on. And that is the only beauty, that is the only time the crowd will even appreciate the fact that it's there. When General Babangida was military head of state, that was the kind of thing he did most of the time. There were situations where he went to Yaba on his own.
You can't do what?
Just look around the market, find out the cost of things. He did it as the military head of state.
Mhm.
And people in governance, these are the kind of things they're supposed to do. Let the community, let the people, let society appreciate them. We don't have to. Who is government? We're all government anyway.
We are all government.
Yeah, but for those who we have rightly voted into power, once in a while they should do things that will make us be happy to come next election without them bribing us to come and vote for them.
Oh, no, don't get me wrong. I absolutely agree with you. But I think as well that sometimes in the creative sector, there tends to be, oh, government should. And I think,
I think policy matters.
Policies, I mean,
Policy-
and at this point, at this point,
No, let me just,
no, I'm going
please,
to
on the-
open it out.
Okay, maybe we should
But let me
just
just
1 minute,
finish,
1 minute
what
to
I
say
want
before there's something.
policy matters in a space where the system does not provide anything for you. You are your own government. You are your security, you provide your water, your
Mhm.
light, everything. They collect tax.
Yes.
If he opens his library, I'm sure it's being taxed. So they tax him.
They've come, I refuse to pay.
And they go to
I refused to pay. I told them, I've been running this library free.
So you see, so
for
if,
more than 17, 18 years.
yeah, if you work,
And you're asking me to come and pay tax of 250 naira or 500
so
naira.
if you work in
And I asked them to close down my library.
if you work in a space where these needed materials are there, if you don't have to struggle to put on generator to run, you run business at a loss. Most of the cafe that you see are being run by Lebanese, because the ones run by Nigeria, you don't have the capacity. And of course, the story of some of those cafes and the rest of them. But I'm speaking as a reporter now. So if the state is not providing all those things, because we also operate in other places, we know what the city will give you. And then so you establish your business so you can pay back. They come to collect money from you. You are not protected from area boys. If you say you have a street performance, you cannot. We went to Segun Adefola's place, a private enterprise. This young man he's not young anymore.
Yeah.
He created his own space there.
Mhm.
We were going to do free films screening. That was the time the Lagos State government remembered to send the so-called monitoring officers who say you cannot show film. So I have to ask him, you can't show film. So what do we do to keep these restless young people at bay? So what do you want them to do? So policy matters in the state like this because our life
No,
is
get me
over.
wrong. I didn't say policy.
No, I'm actually
Doesn't
building
matter.
on what
Yes.
you say. I'm just saying that if the state cannot put in place things that happen, we it's not robbery, but some of those companies, ArtX and Co. ArtX goes to a place because I'm also part of them. I advise them. If ArtX, our sister, if she didn't have that father, who is a big man, she will never get to where she is. If Bolani or St. Peter did not have that father, she will not get what she's getting. We can't continue like that. You can't take 22 million people and then you leverage on privileges. I don't want to leverage on privileges. I've gone to school. I'm going to learn. I'm producing. Young people are producing their art, and we're still expecting them to be the ones to be all over the Okay, an artist has produced his work. There's no manager. There's no lawyer. The artist is the lawyer. Is the one who is going to sell his own artwork.
Yes, I
That's
think
why policy matters.
And I think actually in that, what you just said isn't so much policy. It comes back again to audience exposure and training. In other climates, let's take theater, okay? Every year, every end of school year, pack 30 children off to see a show, okay? They see a show. Next year, they say show. By the time they're like 12, 13, we have what, 30 kids, right? Maybe 6, 7 say, you know what? I want to be on stage. So those ones enter the drama club and all that. The other ones aren't allowed. You must do math, English, whatever. But they keep on going. They go and watch their friends doing the shows. Every year, they're still going to the school shows. By the time those children are adults, by the time they graduate, they know that going to shows is a good thing. Their friends have been harassing them. Come and buy tickets. Come and buy tickets. By the time they're 40 or 50, philanthropy to the art is ingrained as a good thing to do. Audience training is also, unfortunately, audience development is also something that we need to do as well. But I think that's enough from us from now.
Before, just a minute, on the back of what Chapman said, policy. If the policy is right and it's established, do we also have continuity? Because we don't seem to have, if we had, or if we did, what is happening to the public arts will not be happening.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I
There will
go,
be art education.
yeah, well,
Yes,
I
absolutely.
go, so because I travel a lot,
Yes.
I go to Ekpe, I was in Ekpe just last week. I saw the Lagos theater there, quiet, nothing is happening.
Okay.
You know, in the last admission, they had about 5
Yeah.
theaters in the
Yes.
5 regions. So a government comes, says, okay, theater is a good thing, let's localize theater performances. So they put the structures there. A new government comes, because there's no policy, there's no continuity, they abandon it.
Yeah.
And those things are rotting away right now. So what do you say? So there's going to be there's policy, there's going to be continuity.
This man will run.
You know, so why do we continue to do those things? I honestly, I feel heartbroken every time I see those things, and I'm just like, what can we do?
Okay. Question.
Sorry if you're
One-
sounding like
Hold on. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we'll take 3, and if you finish that, we'll take the next 3. Okay.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. Okay, I'm Philip Olayoko. I work for the West African National Justice Center. Yeah. So, thank you very much. I have a few points, but I'll try to be very brief. I'll just touch on each of them. So, on the Lagos being a bad boyfriend stuff, it was very interesting to me because I had the privilege, I call it the privilege of living in Lagos. I grew up in Ibadan most of my life, and so we aspire to also come to Lagos. So one thing I found out is when I am in Lagos, let me say, when I'm in Lagos, I am not very comfortable being in Lagos. But when I'm outside of Lagos, I always want to be in Lagos. It's like I crave the life because it has its own unique life and existence. And so that leads me to the question that when I was in Lagos, I had a neighbor who always says, "I'm going to Lagos." You know, we stayed at barracks, and the reason why we stayed at barracks, that's Ujoelegba barracks axis. So when he's leaving home, he'll say he's going to Lagos. So I didn't understand. Eventually, then I know he said he was going to the island. And the island I was talking about was not actually the Victoria Island. I was thinking of the Saleko itself. Yeah, that axis of Lagos. Yeah, yeah. So So I think this is So for me, and I think for me it's interesting, especially going back to what happened. I mean, we should touch on these parts of our history as well during the last elections on ownership of Lagos. Lagos being a low mass land and stuff like that. I think it's important for us to start exploring how we define these spaces in terms of personal and communal identities. Of course, like German said, there are a lot of creatives that are coming out of Lagos at the moment. How do we perceive these creatives do we see them as actually core part of Lagos? Do we see them as people who are contributing to life in Lagos? Do they also feel, embedded in the Lagosian space? Such that what kinds of entitlement and rights are they supposed to have in order to be able to contribute to the growth and expansion of the Lagos economy from the creative arts perspective? The other thing I wanted to also talk about, I wrote a paper recently, I don't know whether they're going to publish it, but it's on alienation. And I thought a bit on cultural alienation and how we value, these aspects of our culture and the role that technology plays when it comes to how we appreciate our culture. And I think Madam Gomez has been talking about not having enough information and access to information. And the point I'm trying to make is that the creative art space in Nigeria is not isolated. I see it as in competition with some other, spaces when it comes to attractions, when it comes to cravings. We're talking about creatives not getting enough visibility, but I don't see the artists in the world right now that has much traction as Burna Boy has. And I'm saying it's somebody that's performed, and I know this one may be too categorical, but I'm saying he has so much visibility. I mean, playing at the Champions League final, staying with Henri in all of your artwork and stuff like that, it's visibility. So what I think is we should look at how we have been separated from the values that are attached to our art, and how can we cope with that within a very competitive space. Then on the government funding aspect of it, I think I agree that government has to play a role, but it's simply not working. And this is the thing that I also argue with when it comes to maybe fellow academics or people, even the civil society organizations. I think a lot of people are inclined towards thinking that we don't want to get involved in political mess, access to dirty money and stuff like that. And so we try to isolate ourselves from some of these guys. But these guys, for me, and this is very personal, I'm still struggling with it, they have a lot of money to spend. And some of them actually, so I'm not saying, I think we need at some point to see how we can attract investments from private individuals who may not be the best in terms of characters, but would be useful and help. So I'm not saying that we should encourage corruption, but the truth is, if you have money, my argument is, if you have money and I want to use your money for public good, then I think that public good should be superimposed on whatever bad behavior, whatever you have. And the point I'm trying to also make is that then we have to negotiate and trade concessions. For instance, if you're giving me money, you're not determining how I'm going to spend it. You are not determining what I'm going to use it for. I'm coming to you. So, but I could also say, okay, you have a bad public image. I could actually try to paint. You can actually start doing some good. You can change from what you have by investing in this. But it's not that influencing that public good that I want. Because if we keep isolating ourselves from there, I think there is a bit of we are isolated. We are also ignoring the fact that we could make some money that could help, project some of the work that we are doing, even if we think that this money is not quite okay. Then I'll just end on this bit of access. I think we made an example of LSA, and I felt that one trend that LSA has is that it's accessible to people, not as it's conveyed. And I want to also make this point with some art spaces as well. The point is, even if you have information about these events taking place, it's always perceived as elitist. People do not think that they could actually enter or have access into those spaces. So I think perhaps in communicating some of these events, the idea of accessibility or openness, or that people can also come, with the pricing and stuff like that, should also be emphasized. So thank you for bringing this here.
By us presidency also in I really want to go back now and was by from 2024 was by selling instruments and just talking about how didn't feel comfortable going to traditional because it wasn't something he grew up with. But that lots of some people was going there, people programs was comfortable. And like, hey, there and enjoy the exhibition as normal. Let's go. And it was how it was showing him and making it possible space that he had not beforehand. So we build confidence. And so I know it's sort of sometimes we have to do something for our children because children do have something we need to do it. Yes.
Thank you. My name is Alex Fox. I come from the Open University in the UK. So my point is that, John, we met the first time at Freedom Park years ago. You're very generous that day. Freedom Park, it's become this like stage space for many of the cultural activities that we've been talking about today. So my first question is, does there need to be a second cultural zone on the mainland, a kind of less elitist version of Freedom Park that is a defined space that can provide a stage that will be more open, more welcoming, as it's been suggested? The second part of my question is relates to some of the politics that's been touched on, because Freedom Park is an example of a successful development. Clearly, there was a piece of land that became available, which is not common, but I wonder what the mechanisms were that made that a successful project. Was it Freedom Park? Was it purely something between Theo Lawson, the governor of the time, and what's stopping that same thing happening again? Because I know that he continues to do cultural interventions, but I think they're on a smaller scale now. As I understand, he's currently working on a film village, but it's not in Lagos. It's way far from Lagos, and perhaps it should. Hopefully, it's been talked about for so long. I hope it's true. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Samuel Kuye. First, I want to talk about the bad boyfriend. Some of my friends, or many of them that came from other states to do their masters in the University of Lagos, after they finished, they didn't go back. Those that went back just went to finish some things and they returned. So I was now thinking of writing about what is causing them to stay. So now that you mentioned bad boyfriend, I want to seek for permission to use that phrase in the research. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I want to ask, because when you were talking about policy, I want to ask, is there any particular policy that helped the music and the Nollywood industry? If there is no particular policy and they are able to, thrive on their own, what are the things that the arts, the other space can do to survive? Or are we going to say we wait until there is that policy that we want? Or is there anything we can do if there is no policy? Is there any way that art can survive without policy or with policy?
Policy. The question I think because it's not. So the thing is, I like that you make an example of Freedom Park. We are all proud of Freedom Park. It's one of the places that I want to have to recommend places to discuss from the Lagos. In terms of whether most likely in the next year or two, we probably have a different version of it as well as theater. Because now there's some reconstruction, investment going on to make that place an entertainment hall. It's going to be a creative entertainment complex beyond just a place to produce theater. So there's going to be a workspace and all of that. We have parts on the mainland, okay, which I know because of schools. There's one close to the government's office. The AJC part and there's the one Malcolm. So there are two parts. We may not have a space with same facility as Freedom Park. But on the mainland, we actually have a couple of parks that people should use. But mainlanders, go to or no performances.
So no cultural activities.
No problem. They just to really relax and just chill. People don't go there for picnicking and all of that. For performances, you may have stories for professional development or get something close to freedom.
But I also, I'm just talking about, and something, yes, they're all. The comment on anything. Okay, because who are considered elites don't go there.
Yeah.
No,
But actually, that happens to diplomats.
yes, I know, it's a, it's a nice thing, I think it's very complicated, intertwined. So the people who you imagine are elites don't go to Singapore because
So that okay. They go to
no, you find me there. But I will struggle to get my friends. Okay, national museum is the same thing. Okay, yes, it's not, it's not, British museum, it's not the red, but it's a national museum. Yes, it's run down. Yes. But I love the national museum. And before people went and paid their entry fee, even if they don't get enough subvention as they should, that is, people again cannot get people go to Atex and pay 2,000 what to say. They will not go to the national museum. They won't. You beg them, tell them. And 15 centimeters I come and see 50% free people. It's there, it's not even it's there. But
So, you know what I was talking about, if you know the problem of state, the way it is as state, even naturally, Lagos is very five zones. It'd be like Ikorodu,
Yes.
this is from Lagos, so how do you tell on the state that doesn't have any program for other places? You want to see on the island and the efforts of community there. So I can tell you, I was looking for the cultural question. But I saw this and I thought I wanted to see the answer section. If answer section says that if you I work on a question, but like first time I was so if you join, if you operate in a space like this, you run commercial venture, or you make once of your profit or the job in the endowment. The endowment fund is there with on a very some, I don't know whether it should be there, but there's supposed to be not on local government basis, but they are located island works on mainland. So all of them have. I don't think you understand the change system. That area, if you are get, there's the system that will ensure that you get funding from the get. It doesn't affect central. It is conventional. If you do extra, I've operated in Japan. I know that what we get in Australia. In order to start this in Japan, you have our own funding. That can work in a theater and anyone. It does not affect what you do when you have the world out of world culture, which is central. So different places you have your own fund. That's what the cultural policy is. Every state is good. Lagos sign on to be in so how can they get anything? You have to rent his own space. So freedom park. See the freedom this is what we talk today. Sorry, don't forget the the way we run there, that's the Obama made that many of us do not agree. Build institutions, not persons. A governor came, they had a vision of creating the city, wanted the city to become a but people don't understand. So he called architects, said, what can we do about this environment? And they all came up with the form of the policy I pretty intelligence, just. And then what came out was an idea. So Theolos came up with the idea of freedom. They wanted to place it, they gave him money. Somebody was going to give me somebody was doing after one minute. Somebody was doing it. Somebody was doing all these things. But they said the only one now flowers was freedom, which was level. I used to know it as an so they were able to have the 19 minutes as staying true. I mean, they are threatened. They are threatening every commissioner that comes. Now, one commissioner, took a governor there early in the morning. You know what? We really have this big Friday night mass. When you come before the voice would normally clean. We have not received the wake up in the morning. This government is now one ambulance for government there. Say, look, this place is wrong. You can do fast. Now need so you see the mentality of the country are different from the government as started. The moment that government has shut down. Because it was a vision of it was not just it's not a state system. Don't surprise if you don't park is not small. If the governor comes up and say we don't like it, not like they're totally using plans. So we have all these parts built like that. There's nobody that doesn't have those parts. In fact, I've even mentioned to me that because it's so after 2 million people and then you have the family members. I remember that fight. Now, many of them are not. You know why? So because we have, when we have to use each other. We are going to destroy each other. So what are you in government? So the reason Freedom Park are not operating is that Freedom Park is in the community called Nigeria. If you go in Adago, I'm sure you know, people grew up in that area, they used to go in environment. You normally go to that area you go to play, to have a pursuit. So it's in the community to own it. The point that the security men and fire, when you have us, who were brought in, was in the chair. You have to bring them to the old man and see how they check. You have to be put there so that when the area goes from the level, if you try that and say, I did this. When you don't have that kind of system, and go there was a police next door. A police, if you get police station next door, so if you invest on there, you will go to still come there. If you try to play like a little bit, if you read or you valid that, you actually play that's why, so you are getting a long time to shift. The security environment, if the environment is not secure, as I said, who allow use our child to go to so unless you have a system that says, okay, Lagos pass. You don't give it to us, keeping all of this. How do you distort idea of freedom actually? I think you know, see, the example that I was collecting rent. So actually, and it's fine. It's all it's outside. I would have to read. It's not signed. I mean, it's not in. You see where the state, so where the all they are not new. You talk this from them. Talking from someone. Why is some of our working? Why is that working fast? Why is Kenya? Because much. I mean, in Nairobi, why are they working in the United They got now work. In fact, the artists video are not We won't use child hostels exactly for people. The reality is, it's a job city. It's not regulating anybody. So.
Well, say something.
Yeah, I want to react to the first person that spoke. Though partially, I want to make a German answer the question. There's any comment minutes. I'm going to use myself as an example. Today, when we're talking about taxing myself on Facebook, if a politician should come to me and say they want to invest in my museum, as a politician that I'm very sure is corrupt, will I want to accept him to invest in my museum? The answer will be no. And the reason is this: tomorrow when he leaves office, and EFCC goes after him, EFCC likely come after him. And they will not want to understand the fact that the museum was already existing before he got into office, before he rendered the out. So those are the worries that I personally have to that. Now, when my center was commissioned in 2004, I remember the local government chairman who attended was like, okay, we're going to give you a place. Eventually, the second local government chairman who came and invited me over and said, tell us where you want. And I said, it's not about where I want you. And that documents that you're going to give me, that the property you want to give me is my home, is my bed. Not to show where by the time you know the local government chairman again, somebody will come and kick him out. And probably kick me out at the point in time where I don't even have money to rent another place. And that's part of the reason why I remain where I am till date. So if you ask me personally, I will tell you. I will 100%.
So, okay. Okay, well, my name is Funke Awudia.
Okay, I said my name is Funke Awodia. I'm a poet, a social campaigner, and I know the activities of these people on the panel. It's a privilege to be here, even if I don't live in Lagos again, but I still have the Lagos spirit in me. I can say that we've been doing so much, but this is my point. Some of the activities, the festivals, the book library, the tours, have really awakened a spirit of what I call a literary activism. I work with a community library when I was still in Lagos, whereby we have book club readings, and sometimes I even promise the children that I'll take them to the museum. What I'm trying to bring out is that we don't have to give up, even if the policies are not there yet. I think more of what we need is a change of attitude. And this change of attitude will not start from the top. Okay, if we are used to the idea of going to museums, if we are used to the ideas of going on tours, if we are used to the ideas of taking children to for spoken word events, for example, these are the people that will become adults that will value our art space and what these art spaces have to offer. It's so sad that we don't have policies that encourage some of these things directly. But I believe with documentation, we can change some of these narratives. For example, I am looking at a situation whereby we are celebrating Labaf at 30 with images, videos of some of the activities we've done in the past, and we can take it to schools, or we can invite people. If you send invitation to the special advisor of culture, for example, to be a part of this activity, if they are there and they see things we've done in the past, it could motivate them. It could change their attitude. And for example, what Dr. James is doing with the library too, children know about the library. Children come to the museum. I'm thinking of a situation whereby these visits are put together in a form of documentation, video documentation, and we showcase what we are doing. No doubt, some people don't know about the things we're doing. People don't know, not because we are not doing more of awareness, but I think we are still
talking to the same people in our own circle. We are not projecting the heart in a way that people who are not the elite per se can enjoy the kind of art we do. I think we should think of how to spread the message, go out of our circle. And for the tour, sometimes people might wonder that, okay, I live in Lagos. I think I know everywhere in Lagos. It's a lie. During your documentation, the film on Bishop Crowder, that was when I got to know that that church I go through anytime on Lagos Island, that's where the Bishop Crowder we hear so much about was buried. So it means that we need to tell these stories more. And the way we can tell this story is by documentation and showing these things to people outside the art circle. And we should continue with our literary activism. And these have changed my view. I'm starting my PhD in September. My work is going to be on literary activism. Thank you. It's based on everything I've seen in Lagos that I've done with people in the art space and what I believe we can still do in the future. That's my contribution.
When they produce in those communities, it can then move around. We used to have Lagos Festival of Arts and Culture. You know what they did? There was a festival that was moving from one local government to another. So these communities were crisscrossing. You know how many artists were employed in that? They were going around and they were earning money and they were going around. There was no Lagos theater or any, they perform in schools and things. That was the kind of thing we were talking about. I was in one of those programs that we went from one school to another in 1988. We were going around and performing, got to know the entire state. It doesn't exist anymore. So that's why we're always saying that in a system like this, policy matters. And the question you were asking, I just got the way I wanted to get. There's tax incentive, tax holiday, entertainment tax levies. All these are for corporate organizations. It says that if you put that 1%, you get tax holiday, tax incentive. You get some levy will not be put on you. Okay, so you don't have to call German and give me 10 million. And if you give me 10 million naira, whatever I do is what I do with the money. It's only between me and you. So the system we're operating now allows for corruption. And because it allows for corruption, they allow it to continue. Because I'm the one giving you the money. Whatever I claim that I've given you, is that my festival, somebody said they gave us 2 million naira. I have to go to him. So, sorry, I'm a journalist, I'll report. Before they have to withdraw it. Obviously, he probably got the 2 million. So, but individual now prefer to go, it now depends on who you know, who you can run there. Well, as an artist, I don't want to live in that space where I'm warning myself about how to go and lick somebody's booth. I just want to produce. Yes, so there should be manager, shall be agent who will now push it. The agent can go and negotiate and get his own. But even the Burna Boy that we talk about, Burna Boy is like a son to me. I can tell you that much of the money you hear is not coming to him. He will not tell you that, but I know.
For me, we'll just continue doing what we're doing, probably improve on how we are doing what we've been doing. Still using myself as an example. I've been trying to promote reading habit over years, and I came up with so many other ideas and concepts to encourage young people to read. I've done some very crazy things like holding garage and go drinking competition for readers, goat meat pepper soup reading competition for readers, just anything that will attract the young ones to leave their houses and come to the library and read. Because I think all we just need to do is to improve on whatever we'll be doing and do it more.
In closing, I'll just say we all should follow maybe like your example. We have something, we know what goes on in the city. Alone. Take some people along with you. And by so doing, we'll be introducing them gradually to the fashion. Lagos has a lot going on. And it's not just about hustling. There's so much to enjoy, to appreciate in the city.
Thank you. I'd like to thank everybody on the panel. I think that we've raised some thoughts to think about. And I'd like to thank all of you as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah.